Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thug. Appreciate seeing everybody in here. It's a lot of you guys in here. It's too many of you this early. No, just kidding. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys ended up seeing the episode I did with Severe last night on Pilled and Rumble. You can find that on my X profile if you didn't catch it. I reposted it there. It was a bit more of a casual conversation that typically turned with me about Hitler. And I thought it was a pretty good conversation. We talked about quite a bit. Today's going to be a shorter episode. I am in the middle of prepping for debate against Chuck Mason. I have preparations around that. So that'll be the main thing that I'll be focusing on until Friday. But that is on Friday. Again, it's going to be Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Expect me to eviscerate a boomer on Israel's influence here in America, and that'll be on NAV, New American Vision. You can find that at NAV Creators as well. Because it won't be streaming here, it'll just be on NAV, by the way. So we have a lot to get into. Well, really, there's two kind of main stories, main explosive stories, really, that are filling the news cycle. One is a continuation of basically all of politics, and that is the Epstein Files being placed on Donald Trump's desk. And now thank you very much, Orthodox Boomer Grandma. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're waiting right now. Supposedly Trump said he will sign it because the House passed it and then the Senate passed it, and now it is going to be on Trump's desk. There's some concerning elements with that we'll get into. Some of it around the language of the bill, some of it around the discretion that they give with Attorney General Pam Bondi. The second thing, however, is a coordinated, you could categorize this as a false flag if you wanted to, and that is the fact that Jake Lang and a lot of coordinated reporting all came out at once today from an event that Jake Lang is doing in Dearborn, Michigan. Now, if you aren't familiar, Dearborn, Michigan is probably the leading Islamic state here in America. There's also a competing faction in Texas, but Dearborn, Michigan is the one that I think we see probably the most news about. And in Dearborn, Michigan, there has basically been an Islamic takeover. And not from really an institutional level as far as what you can really see. Now, it's getting worse, obviously, and this is clearly a problem. I'm not pro-Islam by any definition. But it's the appearance in what Jake Lang is trying to appear as is the psyop here. Now, Jake Lang has a pretty scattered history. Now, he is a former J6 prisoner, but we have some testimonies here from a couple of his former cellmates that we'll get into. It's a bit complex, but I'll try my best to kind of cover it for you. So that's kind of the two main features. We had some smaller stuff with Tim Pool being disinvited or not invited at all to the TPUSA AmFest over comments that he had made. And I think Dadsky was the one that had sent that to me in the Discord. I appreciate you sending that in, brother. So make of that what you will. And then following that, we got a report from Dominic Michael Trippi as well, detailed that. Now, it did come from Tim Pool himself, but the report is this, that conservatives or leaders in the conservative movement do not believe that TPUSA will be successful without Charlie Kirk's leadership. Now, I'm inclined to believe that that's just Tim Pool saying that because he's angry about what happened. But also from the surface level, from the outside looking in, it would appear that yes, TPUSA is pretty lacking in leadership right now. And I don't think Erica Kirk is the person for that job. And I don't believe it'll be Andrew Colvett. And I definitely don't think it'll be Tyler Bauer. So it might just be a bad moment for TPUSA, especially because beyond Charlie Kirk, it's like, who else? Who else is there? What other figure even comes close? Breland Hollyhand? Yeah, that's a joke. So that was a smaller story. We also have another piece that's actually kind of perfect timing. It's kind of golden timing, if you ask me. And that is that John Kirikow, a ex-CIA agent, officer, I guess whatever you want to put there, he sat down with, I forget the guy's name. I think his name is Julian Dorey. He sat down with Julian Dorey, and there was a explosive piece in there, a clip, that supposedly that he had a source, an insider, that basically said that Donald Trump was threatened by Israel to use nuclear weapons, and then if they didn't, they were going to start World War III, essentially. Now, this is actually not the first time that there's been mention that Israel has threatened to use unconventional weapons to force the hand of all of the geopolitical actors in regards to war. We'll get into that, and it comes from Jonathan Pollard. And I say perfect timing because I'm definitely going to be using some of this in the debate on Friday, because why would I not? But obviously, John Kirikow, checkered past, once a Fed, always a Fed. So you have to take anything you hear from a former CIA operative. All of that has to come with a grain of salt, and you can't ever believe anything at first glance. Now, what I will say is the reason why I would give it a bit more of a credibility is, well, for one, I'm biased, but two, we have a history of this being a thing from literal Israeli spies, John Pollard. Now, John Pollard was a bit more vague in his kind of language when he said this, but I believe that was following the 1973 war. But again, a lot to get into. Epstein Files is the one that we'll probably spend majority of time on, but we will cover the Jake Lang thing at the beginning. And we'll cover a small bit in a clip from Roseanne Barr as well, too, because Roseanne Barr is just insane. But to get into this, so Jake Lang did a false flag event. I'm calling it a false flag event. But he went to Dearborn and basically said, we have to stop the Islamification. And so what you will see on X is loads of videos like this all over. So there's multiple. There's one of him later in the day, him getting swarmed. And now this one might be the one that people are seeing the most of. He also has a couple other ones. He has one where I'll add a caveat here. There's one where he burns the Talmud along with the Quran. But there's really no other mention about Judaism throughout this. And so the reason why I say it's a false flag is this, that the concerted kind of pushing of this, I saw it from Nick Sortor, I saw it from not Project Constitution, but many of these kind of high ring, inside circle, very close to the MAGA high level pundits, individuals like Nick Sortor, who you see on screen, all published it and pushed it around the same time. And I believe Libs of TikTok, you could throw her in there as well too. But the point is this, the point is what they're really trying to do here with this Islam thing is what it's always been. It is a deflection. And now, funny enough, because I'm becoming a bit more read up on these things, it's funny how you can see these parallels here. And one of the parallels that you will find here is the fact that when you read like the Luntz document, or the, I think it's called the Frank Luntz report, but it is Project Israel's 2009 Global Language Dictionary. And I would encourage a lot of people to look this up. You will see a lot of parallels there. But one of those things was that they wanted to make sure that they deflected and changed and reframed the narrative from the conflict over in Israel away from territory towards ideology. Now, this follows in that same line here. You will hear this kind of repeated slogan, which is Islam is not compatible with the West. Well, I would also argue that Judaism is not compatible with the West. But that's the part that you don't hear. That's the part that's omitted. And similar here with Jake Lang and many others, they push for this while omitting the Jewish element of it. Jake Lang has an extremely checkered past. I know somebody put it in here, Gen Z Goy, he went to jail for 4 years for whistleblowing. There's very odd, I didn't look too much into this, just enough to gather the gist of it. If you go back in around 2021, in early 2020, when he was put in jail for J6, there was some oddities around some GoFundMes that he was raising, and some people kind of linked that to a home that his sister had purchased. There is some weirdness there for sure. But I think the other element is the fact that he was a drug addict for a period of time, and that supposedly he does have some links to BLM and Antifa. And so the overwhelming element, when you look at the body of work that is Jake Lang, it does appear that he is a bit of a con artist. Now, this recent stunt looks like he's kind of playing into the Nick Fuentes element. He's kind of being a Timu Nick Fuentes. Now that's the part that I would add here, which is expect more of this. Expect that Jake Lang won't be the first one. There will be many people who will attempt to maybe not even commandeer the America First movement, but to paint themselves as a chameleon, where the America First movement is a skin suit to ultimately leverage and get some of their other goals here. Oh, John Kirikou, yeah. Yeah. And John Kirikou, again, that's why I brought that up earlier. You can't take any of the language from any of these people like at first glance, as first word. Let it sit for a little bit. Make sure you can see and find their past as well too, because it's kind of like where we're at right now. Ethos matters a lot, and so previous body of work does hold a lot of weight to a person's credibility. Jake Shields' tweet is also up here, which he's a good asset to have in the America First movement to be against, obviously, the Jewish question, the Jewish element here. But he's awful in terms of Christian nationalism, and he's a bit liberal in that sense, but, still appreciate him for what he is. The overwhelming element here is to deflect and divert and paint and put a light and a spotlight, really, on Islam and paint it in a way that is violent. Paint it in a way that it is, incompatible. They can't belong here. And so basically what I took from this was it does seem like he was trying to rage bait a lot of Muslims with a lot of what he was doing. And it's not to say like you disagree with some of what he was saying, which you would agree that Islam is not compatible with the West. It's doing this in an attempt to place it so that when people think about it, when they prioritize, when they have a hierarchy of like, what's a problem, right? What's more of a problem? Well, if you get consistently blasted with this kind of anti-Islam, a war in the Middle East, Palestinians, there's rockets flying everywhere, it kind of sets in on a base level for the average person that Islam is a much more, for one, violent ideology, and second, that it's much more prominent in America. It's a bigger threat here in America. And so these things obviously have different uses, but they use that to leverage. They use that to leverage it and not to say that there's nothing wrong with Islam. They use it to leverage it to almost vanish out anything wrong with Judaism. So keeping that in mind, there is one in particular where he's like slapping bacon on the Quran, which is funny. But what I would add to this, Eric Daughtry says it takes some guts to do this right down the middle of Dearborn. I would say, for one, that's what people should be doing. But it's kind of also like an admission that, what's on the other side of this, right? Why did it take guts? Is it that the threat is that like these people will violently attack you? Which they did, actually. I don't have it on hand, but there's a clip of going around too. Jake Lang was punched in the face by one of these individuals. It needs to be both are incompatible with the West. And that would be the more correct jargon and something I would get behind. The reason why you have to omit it and shut it down immediately when they are not held in equal parallels is because the whole apparatus of American politics is basically at the behest of these inner dynamics that are playing in from the Middle East. And so you need to have a strong outward statement of no, both are gone. And it's kind of funny too. I will say that, but he comes across to me as like he's like a former gay guy. I'm not trying to be offensive by any means. I'm just saying that these are some of the thoughts that come to mind here. And if you click through it, he's slapping around. He's trying to rage bait. What I would add here is another former inmate who was familiar with Jake Lang, who was imprisoned during January 6th with him. I don't have his name here, but he's a light-skinned dude. Was making mention of how a lot of these veterans who were there were seemingly being over the top, like being aggressively, like over the top being aggressive. And maybe they're just, bumbling buffoons, who knows, and they're getting the courage because Jake Lang is doing this stuff. But again, the most alarming element to me is the fact that almost all of these posts here circulated almost instantaneously. And then given the fact that there has been some looks into Nick Sortor as of recent, given how close he's becoming to some of these inside circles, Nick Sortor is someone who I used to appreciate because of his coverage on East Palestine as somebody who is from Ohio. It is becoming a bit concerning. Now, his family, Jake Lang's family, it's his family served in the IDF. It's his sister. Jake Lang's sister served, and I believe might still be serving, in the Israeli Air Force as a medic. She is a paramedic? Is that the right terminology? I have no idea. But here is some of the bit from Tim Hale. So Tim Hale is actually the former cellmate of this individual. Let me actually put this back on screen. Let me make my head much smaller, actually. Let me make this a lot smaller. This is from Tim Hale, and he says, criminally funny J6er. Now, this isn't the post that he says that he was, but I think I might have that here. Regardless, though, Tim Hale is someone who was in prison for January 6th, and he was the cellmate of Jake Lang. And so what he writes here is he says, last, in parentheses, probably, shit on Jake Lang for the night. Jake Lang wants Christians and Muslims to fight because it's his job to stir racial and religious hatred. Inside the DC jail, he had absolute contempt for Christ and Christianity, from denying Christ to ruining Christmas. And so this, he's quoting a tweet that he has here from 2024. So keep in mind, this is not like he posted it today. This is a post that he is quoting from 2024 and March 25th. And it's this. It is an image of a Christmas tree with the Star of Remphan on the top. So then he writes here, he routinely tried to incite anger from Christians by mocking their religion, proclaiming Jesus was invented by the Romans and drawing a Star of David on top of a paper Christmas tree stuck on the wall, and telling inmates to have a very Jewish Christmas. He told Catholics they were demonic for revering saints and the Virgin Mary. Lang was handpicked by the feds to cause chaos and incite conflict. When he couldn't get people violent, he would try to get confessions out of people to sabotage their cases. When he couldn't trick people, he'd go to his allies in the J6 community and spread lies about others. And there was a series of other screenshots that he had, I believe not in this thread, but a separate one, that showed that Jake Lang was posting as a female. Her name was like, it was like an alias. It was like Sari Lang or Sari Lang, which is odd. And it might have also even been coming from his mother's account too, but I could be wrong about that. Let me grab this other one here. His sister served in the Israeli Air Force, and there's another group of screenshots here. But this is from Suleiman Ahmed here. He writes, Jake Lang's sister serves the Israeli Air Force. And so I'm not going to put this up on screen here because I do believe this does dox people. Not here, but literally directly under here. It literally shows her address, what home this person bought. So I'm not going to put that on screen here. Just let you guys know that. But this is what I'm talking about right here. If you read this third paragraph, the one right here in the middle, it says, in Jake's 5 Give, Send, Go J6 fundraisers, 4 were started by him and 1 was started by his dad, which raised $1.2 million. Now, not to say I have any of the specific details there, but to say it has been reported upon multiple times from different sources that there was some oddities here. And birds aren't even real. Who is Jake Lang? Jake Lang is going to be the talk of the town for the next day or two. He's currently in his 15 minutes of fame because he riled up the Islamic community in Dearborn, Michigan, which is becoming widely known as the, like the Islamic community here in Ohio, or here in the U.S. But there's 2 of them. There's the one that's going on in Dearborn. Then there's the one that's also in Texas. Texas was the one that got maybe even a bit more institutional power. They were pushing for like a smart city and like Islamic centers and things like that. And again, it is concerning. But again, the overwhelming element here is the fact that, Islam does have institutional power, but in terms of you compare it to Judaism, it's not even close. And it's like what are we talking about here, right? And I think this can be seen just quite frankly from the outside looking in again. A very simple and shallow observation that you could make would be when you just look around, right? You say you want to look at the RNC, or say you want to look at the DNC, say you want to tune into, Lord knows, I mean, literally any kind of press conference. You could tune into any kind of meeting. You could tune into, the comments being made after a committee hearing. You will see Israeli flags plastered all over that place. It'll be pins on their tuxedos. It'll be cufflinks. It'll be flags behind them. You have an open, AIPAC openly bragging that 98% of their candidates win, which I'm not sure if that's the same rate. I think it's actually gone down to 97 or 96. The point stands is the real institutional powerhouse here is not Islam. Not to say they're not a problem and it's not a growing influence, especially when you see things like, Zohran Mamdani winning in New York. It's to say that the psyop is to make you think that Islam is the more powerful force. And the only way they can do that, because the facts aren't on their side, is to do these kind of public stunts, which just throws it all into the news cycle. And then a lot of people talk about it at once. I'm sure Timcast IRL is going to have a segment talking about this today, but they're not going to be talking about it as a psyop. They're going to be talking about the real problems with the influence of Islam. And it's like, okay. And, I tweeted this earlier, but the funniest thing is he's in a press conference, and I believe it's with the city board. And it's during this press conference that one of the opening things is like, no Sharia law, they want to oppress women. I was like, okay, I didn't even need to know anything about Jake Lang. I immediately was like, he's Jewish. That like instantly was like, he's Jewish. Right? Because that's not, a groyper is not going to get up there and say the reason why Islam needs to be excised from America is because of the way they treat women. It's like, actually, no, we agree with that, actually. Like, that's the part that we agree with Islam. So again, you know, this is kind of the nature of politics anymore, is having to run through a series of like, check this person, check this person, check this person. When do they all post at the same time? And and this is kind of what we talked about yesterday as well too, but it becomes such a little festering swamp, sewage, whatever you want to say. And nobody wants to do it. Nobody can handle constantly having to vet different sources, having to really know who the person is, do some deep diving, because it just becomes a second job, which is why people have an over-reliance anymore on podcasters and things like that too. So take that for what you will. And I'll also show this too. There's a deleted video of his. I think the bigger point I wanted to say on it was this too. And I'll play this video first before I say what I want to say. Let me find this here. This is a video that he deleted. It was originally found by the Gentile News Network. I'm watching it from Adam here. But thank you for subscribing. Joe Molina, appreciate that, brother. This is a deleted video. I'm going to turn the sound off because I don't want to hear that in the background. Dude, I literally just turned it off. Everyone saw me just turn it off. So this is him doing the black box thing, you know, whatever that non-American ritual is. And then it's him kissing the wall. America stands with Israel. It's like a short little hype video. And this is what I would say. What I wanted to say was this. So he deleted this. Okay. If it was, we have an example of somebody who actually woke up out of this, who was like this. And that was Evan Kilgore. Now, Evan Kilgore is somebody that I make fun of on this show quite often because I find him to be a little bit too homoerotic for my taste. But he's somebody who like came forward and he said like, listen, this is what I did, that I was at the wall. Like I own up to this. Like I did do all of these things and like I was wrong. He posted all that stuff and he reposted all the time too. He was like, listen, as somebody who used to believe all this and wasn't indoctrinated. And so, you know, Evan Kilgore didn't delete all this stuff. He owned it. He was like, listen, dude, I actually do want to be accepted into this side because I do think that I was completely wrong. That's not what Jake Lang did. Jake Lang is like deleting all these old posts, hiding from it. He didn't have any kind of moment where he came out and was like, you know what, I was completely wrong. You know, all that stuff I was doing in J6, like I can't believe I fell into this trap. No, none of that. It's just out of nowhere, he's in Dearborn, Michigan. So I just don't buy it. I don't believe it. I find it to be entirely fake. I find it to be more of the same. And that's basically what all of this is becoming. But moving on to John Kirikow, because it's going to stay in the line of Israel here. Forgive me. It is just wild video. But the essential point here is that Trump was threatened by Israel with nuclear weapons to force our hand. So this is from Julian Dory. This is the video here. Let me pull it up for you guys as well, too. And so John Kirikow, which I think I'm not even saying it right, is a former CIA spy. Probably the least trustworthy people on the planet are former feds. And even more so, former fed is bad enough, but being a former spy is like, there's really no getting much. You don't really lose any more credibility than that. It's like, we really can't trust you anymore. It's kind of one of those jobs where it sucks, because even no matter how good you might do, you're always going to have that kind of blemish where you're like, you were a spy, dude. Your whole job was to like, you know, hide and observe and like fake your identity and things like that. So take that for what it is. But here it is. This is from Julian Dory. Israel told Trump the quiet part out loud. We have nukes and we'll use them if you won't hit Iran. So here it is, about a minute and 15 seconds long. We'll go and play it in its entirety. Make sure, I'm going to turn this down somewhat as well, too. Let me actually just do this.
The reason, though, I'm told, that Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran was that the Israelis said, for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these deep bunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And they had never threatened that before.
Look at his face.
And so Trump said, bombing Iran might actually save us from the start of World War III if it keeps the Israelis from using nuclear weapons.
So according to your source, the Israelis told the president of the United States that if he did not use the United States military power to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran, Israel, acting on its own, would use nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Do you see why there's a problem with that statement, John?
Yeah.
Because they've never admitted that they've had them.
That's right.
So you're telling me that they just admitted to the president of the United States that they have nuclear weapons and we still do not have them in the IAEA treaty?
I mean, if
everybody knows they have.
Israeli nuclear whistleblowers are to be believed, yeah, they've had them. They started working on them in the 50s. They got them around the late 60s or the early 70s. Look at Mordecai Vanunu.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wasn't charged for treason for nothing.
That's a guy who they hid in Rome with the honeypot.
Yeah.
Yeah. 86.
So this is kind of wild. And what's insane is it also matches another report. Now, I believe the other report would have been from Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone article, which I think was also corroborated by Candace Owens. And I do believe Harrison Smith contributed to that article as well, too. And the reason why I would bring that to the attention is because what was it in there? What was the Charlie Kirk bit? So it was reported, again, this is from Max Blumenthal, so take it for what it is, by the Gray Zone, that when Charlie Kirk was trying to plead his case to Donald Trump of why we shouldn't bomb Iran, it was reported that he was barked at, right? He was yelled at, and it was so bad that he was barked at. Now, also understand, too, the reporting around the time here as well was it was already extremely contentious. And you even go back before that, there's been contentions in this administration, in this cabinet from almost the start. We had this with Signalgate, right? The leaked chat that also roped in Mike Waltz and then also took aim at Pete Hegseth. That was like a story meant to paint Pete Hegseth that's like incompetent. Only to find out that it's Mike Waltz was the guy who added in accidentally the editor, I think the editor-in-chief from The Atlantic. And so from that, though, what I would say is this. That does match that report. The words here and what he's saying here does match, and then in 2020, add hindsight to what the report was in the Gray Zone from, I believe, 2 months ago now at this point, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. I buy it. Like, I buy it completely and outright. And one thing that's been insane is not only just our dealings in the Middle East and our dealings in Ukraine, and now with Epstein, it has literally been flip-flop, 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 flip-flop. It's people are getting whiplash. And it's funny because Clint Russell had a great post on this, attacking Cat Turd, or whatever he goes by anymore, which is that, Cat Turd probably has a broken neck from the amount of whiplash from having to constantly defend Trump and then be pro the Epstein Files, then defend this and then attack this. And I do think there are a few reasons for that in terms of the flip-flopping on Epstein. But the overall element here is obviously that a lot of people simply aren't understanding all of the changes. Like, why does it seem like this is all different from the campaign promises? And this is an overarching thing here too. But moving on to the Epstein Files. The Epstein Files being the biggest story, I think, today, which might fall a little bit in the news cycle because of the Jake Lang thing. But we get Mike Johnson. And so here's how it happens, right? We get it was a 472-1 vote in the House with the one single person voting against it. I can't remember his name, but probably need to look into that guy's hard drive. Then it moves to the Senate. The Senate passes it. So now the bill is supposedly on Donald Trump's desk. And it is using the language of the bill that Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie came together to write, which I do have the bill in its language. We'll look at that. Trump has said, I don't believe Trump has said, but I believe there's been now two officials, one earlier, like a little bit ago, and one shortly after it passed, that Trump will sign the bill when it comes to his desk. Now, other comments that were made that I believe do deserve attention is when Mike Johnson says that we have to be restrictive on the release of these files to, quote, make sure we don't do permanent damage to the political system. And that's kind of funny, is it? Because it's like, you mean the political system that already failed? The one that we're all on the verge of talking about revolution and civil war, like that one? The one that has zero credibility, the one that is not serving American people's interests, the one that people kind of want to burn down. and this is good because, you know, I caught this from Nick from last night. And this is really kind of the whole point, is that people kind of want that. We are at the point now where we're kind of done with this political system. Now, for different factions, it's different reasons, but that is the overwhelming element here. And this is kind of the point of what a lot of people voted for Donald Trump as well, capturing in on that energy from 2015, which was, you know, he's not a normal politician. He's from business. He's from the outside coming in. He's not like them. He doesn't need the donor money. He's a free man. Clay Higgins. Thank you, Clay Higgins. That was the guy who voted no to release the Epstein File. Like the one individual. And everyone's like, this is actually kind of like what we wanted. We wanted full-blown transparency, and I don't think anyone here really cares what billionaire is going to have to suffer for it. Now, this was, believe it or not, actually some of the opening defenses for Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, when they both completely flip-flopped and lied to the American people about there being nothing in the Epstein files. I would say now at this point, Kash Patel probably has now opened himself up to perjury. I think there's probably a couple of clips now, some of the things that he said under oath that I think he probably should be perjured. The craziest thing here is that now that we're kind of in this element, we get Pam Bondi coming out and saying, well, we're looking into it again because there's been new information. Because there's new information. And she stumbles and bumbles earlier in a press release, or press conference, I should say. And here we are. It's hoax, it's not a hoax. It's hoax, it's not a hoax. There's no victims, there are victims. And the most insane part now is that a lot of the victims, according to CNN, the victims majoritively are now saying, we don't even care if you leave our names on or off. Just release them. Just please give the world justice. So now even the victims are like, we don't even care. Put it all out there. Let the world know. All we ask, please put these powerful people in prison. And when have you seen that? You know, it's like the typical kind of trope with like Law and Order SVU is like, you know, the rape victim has a hard time stepping up to stand, the PTSD, it's like they really don't want to. And then sometimes they'll say like, we don't even want to press it. Like, I just want to forget about all this. Well, now they're coming out in mass going like, okay, we changed our mind about being redacted and being off the list, like whatever it takes. And that's kind of disgusting. And so, but also it eliminates Pam Bondi's defense of protecting the victims. We have to protect the victims. We're doing this the way that we're doing this because we have to protect the victims. Well, what happens when all the victims come out and they say, listen, we don't need protection. We need justice. So what I will say is this. I am actually a little disappointed in how weak the language is in the bill that Thomas Massie wrote and put forward for a couple of reasons. But he did add some smaller caveats into the language that I do think are going to be helpful. I just ultimately think it wasn't strong enough. And I'll explain, but let me start here. So we're going to go to Mike Johnson and his reasoning for why the files can't be released because, you know, national security interest, you know, all these other things, right? The Democrat hoax, but also at the same time, there are things in there that would threaten national security. It's getting tiring for most people. But here is Mike Johnson being an absolute buffoon. Short 40-second clip here. Listen to what he has to say.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest and always has rested with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
So here's why this means absolutely nothing. So we're going to go to the language of the bill here. And I'm going to show you why this means literally nothing. So here's the opening, right? So we're in section 2. This is the language of the bill. Let me make it a bit bigger for you guys to be able to read this. This is what it says. So this is, again, Mr. Khanna and Massey. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Line number 6, section 2, release of documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein, section A. In general, not later than 30 days after the date of enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall, subject to subsection B, make publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format all unclassified records. All unclassified records. Why not classified? Why not just say all records? Why just not remove this? Strike this completely. Get rid of it. Didn't need to be there. But it is concerning, right? Because this is the opening ask. Unclassified records. But, let me see here. Let me find it. There is a section for withholdings. There is a section for withholdings here. So I'll get to that here in a second. But that's the first thing. The first thing here is the unclassified portion. I don't like that at all. I don't like at this point, we're giving them too much leeway to be able to basically leverage themselves into being able to release things and withhold what they would like to. And so that brings us to the second element. Well, there's 3 elements. Here's the second one. The second one is the fact that I think inside the writing of the bill, given the fact that the way that Pam Bondi has addressed the situation overall, that I would have placed something in the bill that would have circumvented Pam Bondi from being the one that oversees it. And maybe they would have added in there that somebody would have elected for a temporary special appointment purely for this kind of like commission or the Jeffrey Epstein Commission. I would have preferred that to have been the route that they would have went. Because it does then go back to Pam Bondi, and then Pam Bondi gets to choose what she wants to withhold, what to push out and what to withhold from it. And that's the problem. And the reason why it's a problem is because the Department of Justice is going to ultimately withhold anything that's a part of an active investigation. And guess what? They opened up like literally a few days ago. They reopened the Southern District of New York's investigation, which has a weird chain of custody too, because there's a letter that you can find from Jamie Raskin, which I would say Jamie Raskin's not a very trustworthy person and has the physiognomy of a rat, but Raskin wrote what I found to be a performative letter to Pam Bondi about that specific thing, which was that the Southern District of New York was basically told to cease the investigation, send it to DC, and then DC did nothing with it. Until as of a few days ago, they've now reopened the investigation. So understand now that they do have an open investigation here, they can basically say anything that may actually be damaging in these files that should be getting released with this bill is not going to get released. They will withhold it because they'll say it's sensitive to the investigation ongoing. And that's what I don't like about the language in this bill, is it ultimately gave them too much leeway. Now I will show you, Massey did put forward, where did I put this at? He did put a little bit of the language in the bill here. Hopefully I can find it. I thought I had this here. Oh, it's this one. Sorry, apologies, guys. Couldn't read my own writing. So it's section C here, which is in the bill, but obviously just looks better here. Let me put it on screen for you. Thomas Massey, for anyone hoping to use ongoing investigations as a reason to withhold Epstein files, please read the language of the bill. Narrowly tailored and temporary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, I'm glad he added temporary in there, but he didn't add an extra date. And so we understand that the way that they would do this, right? Narrowly tailored is also ill-defined too. And so I appreciate the fact that he thought about this, given the fact that the investigation probably, the ongoing investigation maybe even maybe he inserted it later on or beforehand, thinking that would be a thing. But I still think overall the language in the bill is it's too weak. And that's why I am not very confident. That's why I said don't fall for it on two ends. One, don't fall for the Jake Lang psyop. And two, don't fall for the fact that we're going to get these Epstein files. I think there's multiple ways they're going to try to abuse this to withhold it. And I think already the fact that Pam Bondi, just the way that her body language was giving off that, she was basically being framed for a murder or something, gives me very little reason to have hope that we will actually get anything from the Epstein files. So I'm trying not to black pill on the Epstein stuff. It's just to say the reality of what I'm seeing from the language of this. And also hat tip to James Lee. James Lee is somebody who is like, he's like basically an acolyte of Ian Carroll. They make a lot of similar content. That's who I saw this from first, actually. I saw him looking at the language of the bill, and it did bring it to my attention. But let's go to Pam Bondi. What was Pam Bondi's body language like? You know, new information, right? New information. This was wild. I'll put this on screen for you guys. This was insane to me, because what new information came? And think about that too. Sorry to flip flop on you guys. But what new information came? We're just a couple days removed from Kash Patel telling Thomas Massey, which we had on stream, that of the 40 victims that came forward, the FBI thought that all 40 of those, it wasn't worth it to open or keep an investigation ongoing. But now there's new information and the investigation's reopened. It's like, what is developing in the Epstein files? Like, what else could be developing besides because the guys are dead. The victims are showing up day in and day out at these press conferences. So who's developing it, right? Like where's the developing element coming from? How is the story getting updated? And the only thing that I can think of is on two ends, which is one, that the FBI is just, they're just trying to play, they're basically trying to play, hang on to the ball as tight as you possibly can, right? I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. But they're trying to hang on to the ball as hard as they can without anyone knocking it away. And so they're giving what they have to be able to maintain control of what they would like to. Or, no, there's not even an or. That's literally exactly what it is. And so there's all this development going on behind the scenes on the back end, and they're just basically trying to play this. And the way I see it is it looks to me as if they are largely trying to draw this out as long as they can in hopes that they can come up with a strong enough counter narrative that will make people not want to get the Epstein files. But that's not possible. And we have a segment here from Kevin O'Leary that we'll get to as well too. And I don't remember if that was on Fox or CNN, but Kevin O'Leary says that no one cares about the Epstein files. Kevin O'Leary, if you could come back to Earth, please. And what is that? I think anybody who says something like that, it is a strong self-admission, very strong self-admission. Now, the one thing that I think gave me a bit of hope was the fact that there was a Harvard professor who goes by the name of, where is he at? Do I have him in here? I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Apparently, I'm spending too much time on the debate. There was a professor at a Harvard University that came forward and addressed his class and gave them a pre-warning of his involvement into the Epstein files. So, I don't know. I think right now I'm still black-pilled on getting anything meaningful out of it. But with some of these admissions from some of these people coming out of nowhere, maybe they are scared that they will be, seen out. And we will get the full transparency from the Epstein files that everyone has been begging for. But here is Pam Bondi, and just tell me what you noticed about her body language, her answer, her stumbling, and tell me what it reminds you of.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement.
Well, I'm going to let it so you can hear it. Lord have mercy.
Earlier this year saying that the files would not release.
Larry Summers, thank you.
Mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
I know you probably couldn't hear that at all, but she's about to be super loud. The reporter basically asked, what new information, like what changed it, right? What changed your guys' stance? What made you reopen the investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information. And again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward. And we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
So it's It's just a sad and pathetic answer. And quite frankly, you know, reap what you sow, Pam Bondi. You deserve all of that and more, to be quite honest with you. And for once, she shouldn't even be Attorney General in the first place. But I will not shed a single tear for her being absolutely dismantled by basic questions like that. And it's sad that a basic question like that did dismantle her. You would think that she would have had a bit of a stronger PR presence there. I did not know that he also sits on the OpenAI board. I did not pick on that, but it also makes sense. It tracks. Wow. It tracks. So then here's Kevin O'Leary saying that nobody cares about it. But also, let me show you here too. I want to bring this up as well, just to show you that I'm not the only one thinking this, but it's from Dominic Michael Trippi. It says breaking the DOJ investigation into Jeffrey Epstein ties to several prominent individuals could cause the Justice Department to block release of many files. With surprise. Truth. Very true. But going to Kevin O'Leary, may be on the files, maybe he isn't, maybe he's just an elite who is out of touch. But regardless, I found this to be insane. And quite honestly, because it's the opposite of my argument. And my argument is very simple. It's that this is not going to go anywhere. There is no one you can put in office that will say, stop looking at the Epstein files. There's nothing here. Go away. There's no one in America. There's not a single American individual that would win the presidency that could say that would not end up in the same exact situation we're experiencing now. And the base level of it is essentially this, is that you could walk up to, I could probably go to the Burger King here down the street and I could just talk to any random kitchen worker and I guarantee 2 of them will know who Epstein is out of the 4 who's back there, if not more of them. And they don't know Epstein because he's like, they don't know of Epstein because he's just like this prominent political guy. They know Epstein because they know he didn't kill himself. They know Epstein because they know what is on the other side of that. They know Epstein because they immediately think of blackmail and trafficking. And obviously for the sexual crimes he was convicted for. But here's Kevin O'Leary giving the opposite take. Here's Kevin O'Leary saying that actually, nobody cares about this. This is not what American families give a damn about. Here's Kevin O'Leary.
I would love for them to release.
Wow, that is loud.
The files. I am not at all in Trump's base. However, I care deeply about it because I'm not going to buy this argument that like these young girls were raped by what? That did they rape themselves? No, they got raped by people who are in powerful positions. And I want to know how many of those individuals are currently serving in our government in some role or the other.
American awake for 18 hours a day. How many minutes do you think they spend worrying about this stuff? Maybe they were raped, maybe they weren't. This is not what American families give a damn about.
Just to be clear,
they just don't.
We do know that there were victims, so that's not speculative.
I'm sorry for pausing. I want to address this question before I lose it. Lord of the Reese says, Atlas, do you think anything would have happened differently if we did get Gates as AG? I would say just by it's self-evident almost, right? And so not to say that I sternly believe something would be different. I'm someone to believe I do think Matt Gaetz has a bit of a bone to pick with the Israeli lobby, but I think it's self-evident. I think the fact that he was the most highly touted and was the first one who was easily kind of dismissed and packed away, then I think that by itself is self-evident that they were willing to throw him to the wolves, knowing that he probably would be an easy dismissal. Throw your best guy out there first, knowing that you'll probably have to roll back to somebody else. But that is beside the point that they could have done special appointments. They could have told Congress. They could have told Congress, go home. And he could have, had all these special appointments. And there's loopholes in where he could have done these temporary appointments for like every 180 days, I believe. And he could have just done that all 4 years of his tenure. And they would have never voted to confirm anybody in. He could have just every 6 months he comes in. All right, Matt, we're going to do it one more time. Special appointment. Matt Gaetz is the Attorney General. Okay, all right, we'll see you in 6 months. We'll do it again. And he could do things that would circumvent Congress. And the point being is like, why didn't he? And it's like, well, there was no hunger for Matt Gaetz to be AG in the first place. But thank you for the question. Back to this though.
But they were victims. And the thing is, people can compartmentalize, right? And the reason why people care about this a lot, not just because of the very real Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking and the crimes that were committed, it is the fact that Donald Trump himself spent years, him and his allies, promised their base, we are going to deliver the Epstein client list that's going to take down all of your Democratic enemies.
Bring it.
Yeah, well, yes,
Nobody
bring it.
gives a
Donald,
poop.
please. Donald,
Nobody
bring
gives
it.
a poop.
You don't give a poop, okay?
The
But other
polling
people do,
indicates-
including people like me
appreciate
who
that.
want
On behalf
of the
justice.
majority of
And I
Americans,
want to know how many of those people are in our
nobody
government.
Gaslighting.
I don't know
Never.
about that.
Poop
The poll
about
seems
this.
To show
Yeah,
something
the poll
A
says-
lot of
different
Republicans
than
do.
that.
And so a lot of Republicans do. This, I don't understand it. I don't understand the strategy. It's like, what do you mean nobody cares about Epstein? Like Epstein was the one that pass or permeates the most, right? Joe Rogan's talking about it. Theo Vaughn's talking about it. Tim Dillon's talking about it, right? The Epstein thing was something that permeated through politics, through pop culture. You can see, there's memes of it all over the place. You can see, and so to say that people don't care about it is like, no, because the belief with it is that there was a conspiracy to silence him because he had dirt on very powerful people. And right now, the average American family is suffering because of said very powerful people. They don't care about it. Are you serious? Right? Like no, it's like it's part of what leads into like the bit of the depression here, which is like when the average guy thinks about the situation that he's in, he goes, listen, I have to slave and work 40. Well, no, nobody's really working 40 hours anymore. Everybody's working like 100 million. Hold on. How do I get rid of this one? I do appreciate super chat. Thank you. Average person's working 60 hours to barely make ends meet. And everyone's telling you like you're not working hard. Well, all the boomers are telling you you're not working hard enough. So your only option is to pick up something part-time or start doing a side hustle. Well, then you never see your children. And then your wife wonders why you're not spending time with her. But if you start spending time with her, it'll take money away from your side hustle. And then on the other side of that, if you're not making enough money in your side hustle, your wife will start be asking you, why aren't you making enough money? And the overwhelming, what's hanging over the head of that is like the idea that the game is rigged, the system is rigged, everything that you do is basically predetermined. You go to the ballot box, it's two birds of the same wing. And when it felt like when the Epstein stuff was getting brought back out, it felt like for the first time that the American people had an answer as to why everything was so busted. Also, thank you for all the members. I appreciate that. Who did that? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. House got a membership. Dude, that deserves its own, stream almost. Thank you very much, AL World Champion. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for the gifted. That's amazing. That is, this is actually news. House has been here for how long? They've gotten a gifted until now. That's crazy. Congratulations and thank you. I do appreciate the support, man. But that is kind of the point, and the point being that Trump, as the avatar, as the image, right, less so as like the Republican Zion Don that he is now, the belief was maybe this guy would pull at that thread. He would pull at the idea that there were cracks beginning to shine through the system that had been running over Americans and American interests for Lord knows how long. And for Kevin O'Leary to say that nobody cares about it is just like, I don't get it. I really don't. And it kind of goes in line with the other stuff I say about like the propaganda that's pro-Israel that pushes back and gives counter narratives to what's being, pushed here in America in that conversation. And it all seems intentional. It's like, are you trying to give the worst argument possible? Right? Is there like another hidden agenda here? Because I find it hard to believe that Kevin O'Leary believes that unless he himself is implicated in some way. But like, it's just a self-admission at that point, man. It's like, dude, you can't say nothing like that and people not look at you sideways. What are we talking about here? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything else here on the Epstein stuff in particular. Yes, that was this. I caught this absolutely by chance, but this also blew me away. So this is supposedly from Prince Andrew's biographer. And Prince Andrew's biographer says in a leaked video at the University of Cambridge that Jeffrey Epstein and Melania Trump were once lovers before Melania was with Donald Trump. Now, this actually might be maybe the most news-related thing here to point out. but it also might be gossipy and entirely fake. So I saved it towards the end of the Epstein stuff, but it's wild, absolutely wild. We're going to watch this. This is from Keith Edwards, who had posted this. But thank you for all the memberships. Thank you for everybody for supporting. I do appreciate that very much. And I do have more members content coming, by the way, actually. And I've been making plans to do stuff with that as well. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that, guys. And the other super chat here from Joshua Van. I know this guy. I think he's my co-host at the Whip Report. He says, Trump giving head of state to Bubba watch party. That's funny. That is in reference to the recently leaked email trove that says that Donald Trump was Blonica Blowinski. But thank you very much, man. I do appreciate the super chats. Thank you guys very much. But no, to this video here, I don't know much about who Prince Andrew's biographer is, but I found it to be too insane not to show you if you guys haven't seen it. So here this is. It's about 30 seconds long, and he is presenting there in the corner. This is Melania. This is, I don't know, and that's Epstein. So much context. Here it is.
So here we are with him in Mar-a-Lago, as you see with Epstein. Sorry, can you see okay? Epstein, a woman called Gwendolyn Beck, who Andrew took to the island, and Melania. I had various references in my book to Melania Trump. Epstein had actually been her lover before Trump, but Trump didn't like that in the book, so he ordered it to be taken out of the book.
So that's the part that makes me believe it. Is he's not just saying it. He's saying it, and then he also adds that Trump didn't like it so much that he requested it to be removed. So, like, I don't imagine he would be saying something like that at the University of Cambridge about Trump if he wouldn't be able to back it up. Now, there's still a chance, though, that he's just throwing gossip out here and he wants to attack Trump and make him look bad. He is Prince Andrew's biographer. Prince Andrew has been largely the person who has been taking the majority of the heat from the Epstein stuff, which is funny. So take that from what you will. But it's the added element after when he says Trump requested we remove it because he didn't like it. Like those are some, at a recorded conference at the University of Cambridge. It's like that to me is like there's probably something there, and it may be exactly what he's saying. But here's the rest of it.
After about 60,000 copies have been printed, so it seemed to be a pretty pointless gesture. But anyway, our publishers did it. But I keep spreading the word.
So, after 60,000 books are printed, so there could be potentially 60,000 different versions of that book that does have it in there, and then the versions after that don't have it in there. So if you buy a brand new one, it's probably not going to have it in there. But if you found one that somebody purchased at closer to release of when that he pushed that out, might be able to find it. So I'm gonna try my best to be able to find that snippet later on if I can. Hopefully, maybe I can find it on the archive somewhere. But what a wild. Wouldn't that have been something that you think would have been important to know, like, years ago, right? Why am I just now finding out about this? And here's the other element. This wasn't talked about or was a thing by like any of the major players in all the investigations, right? Like Ryan Dawson. Maybe Ryan Dawson mentioned it and I just missed it. Maybe Whitney Webb mentioned it and I just missed it. But like, what about all of our right wing? Or what about all of our really, really strong and really good right wing Republicans who do the investigative work? You would, and then here's the thing. It's not that they would say it exactly how they would have said it. A really good investigative journalist on somebody who's doing Epstein and Trump stuff would be able to acknowledge it. They'd be able to go like, oh yeah, I know that's in that book there, but here's what I think about it. Or they would go, oh yeah, that's in that book there. I can't believe they let that go to print. Oh yeah, that's in that book there. But we find it in the fourth quarter with 37 seconds left. That's when we're going to find out that, Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were lovers. But again, take it with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything you see on the internet, obviously. But that is just wild. Absolutely just wild. So there's a couple of smaller things I'm going to get to. But like I said, it's a bit shorter, and I apologize for not putting out as much content. I heavily, trust me, it hurts my bottom line too when I'm not getting videos out, but also at the same time, I want to eviscerate this boomer. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, and it's not even just like I want to eviscerate and I want to make him feel bad and like, oh, hang his head. Like, oh, I'm such a dumb boomer. No, I want him to like actually go, wait, what? Really? You said that? That happened? They printed what in 1933? That's what I would like to do. And so I'm spending a lot of time, reading a lot, actually. My shoulder hurts so bad because I was literally sitting here like this for like, I think it had been like an hour and 20 minutes. And then like I sat back up and like it cracked my whole body. I felt like I was going to die for a minute, actually. But expect that, and I'm going to try my best. I don't know if anyone's going to jump in on me. I think it's going to be one-on-one, but Zeb and John will also be there, maybe probably each to help moderate on both sides. So, but a couple other smaller things I wanted to get to was the fact, again, I'll reiterate, Tim Pool is no longer invited to TPUSA's AmFest, and it was over supposed comments that he had made, and I didn't see which specific comments he had referenced or what they were referencing. But if Tim Pool made comments that were offensive, dude, I'm never getting invited. I will not even get close to the door. They'll have snipers trained on the roof. You know how they treat Nick? they're like Alice Suggs in the parking lot. Be like, wait a minute. I just landed at AmFest. Like, why is my phone saying there's Egyptian planes in the area? So take that for what you will. Will this be a wake-up call to Tim Pool? Is this more grifting? Is this maybe more like, I don't know. I wouldn't put too much stock in Tim Pool, and I really couldn't listen to the whole video. I can't stand him. There's another video I wanted to go to, and it was because it was highlighted by Nick as well. And this is Roseanne Barr, and it's this. It's threading. It's a threat. It's a veiled threat, if you will. But it's basically the threat that America will fall. America will fall if we don't support Israel. And so you probably heard this kind of rhetoric before, which is, Israel's like the last bastion in the Middle East. Once they come for the Saturday people, they'll come for the Sunday people. What else do they say? What are some of the other ones? There's like a bunch of these slogans that have the same thing, right? Like, it's our outpost in the Middle East. It's all of these things basically, and they kind of threaten it. The extremely pro-Israel crowd, they threaten it in a sense that is, if we stop supporting Israel, America will crumble. It's like Israel is like this just massively powerful force, and that if we stop supporting them, it's like it's over for us. And so the sentiment again was shared by Roseanne Barr that Nick highlights, and he says this. This is a sentiment that I have heard repeatedly from various pro-Israel American Jews in the past few years. They only support America insofar as we unconditionally support Israel. If that support is withdrawn, they actually cheer for our destruction. And similarly, Ben Shapiro has a quote from many years ago that says basically the same thing. And it is that the largest guarantor of his support for America is America's support for Israel, or something to that effect. I'm loosely paraphrasing that. But here's the clip from Roseanne Barr.
I don't know that if
Bro, what is up with the sound differences in these videos today?
America's turning on Israel, then America deserves what's going to happen to them for it.
It'll be worse for America than Israel.
It will, because Israel will just move on to India and other countries, and America will fall.
Not just that, the sleeper cells.
America will fall, and that's what they want. I mean, that is what they want, is that the constitutional republic of the United States for America will fall. But I think Trump sees that America has to be independent of the British Empire too. Mm-hmm. And I think that's Israel's independence too, that we're all separated from that. Yeah. And that's the octopus, and we're all separated from that.
So it's this idea that, yeah. I mean, the other guy said it. I don't know who he is. Probably one of her producers, I'd imagine. Probably Jewish. And what does he say? It'll be worse if America stops sending money to Israel. It's actually worse for us. And Laura Loomer, somebody who's on these lines now too. Laura Loomer being extremely performative. She's like, I'm done supporting Israel. It's all these double enchadas. Like, she's trying to like basically do this reverse psychology. She's just literally. the worst person in all of politics. I know I say that about a lot of people, but I honestly mean it with Laura Loomer. Like it's rough. And they're even making these like the Chad memes of Laura Loomer. You know, she's like with these major like plastic surgery buffs. She's a hideous human being. And I mean that not because I want to be offensive. I mean that as a warning to any female who gets plastic surgery, like, good luck. But it's this threat. It's this veiled threat. It's that, you know, somehow it's the last thing America can't lose is this, you know, 40 billion that we get back in military expenditures from Israel. And it's like, dude, I think that we can be okay without that. And I think Zeb made a great point on the money element too. It's like, it's not even about the money anymore. It's about the interest. It's about the directive. It's about the direction, the vision, the interest, the values, the social fabric, what makes the glue of the nation. Like, those things are more important. And to think that it's the only beef we have with Israel is because we're sending them money. It's like, bro, like, it goes way deeper than that. We're talking about all of the things they denigrate, not just our tax dollars. But alas, that's a conversation for another day to get deeper into that one, and that'll be on Friday. Just kidding. Some of it will probably talk on Friday. But I just don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate the threats of that we're forced of like, oh, you're going to withdraw your support. It's like, yeah, maybe you were never America first to begin with. And funny enough, one of these accounts that is a hardcore Israeli show, they go by Data Republican, little R, or like Data Barbie or something like that. I'd have to literally look it up to figure out which one it is. But they have a lot of followers, and they get Ian Carroll and them go back and forth all the time. But they made a post, and they probably deleted it now at this point. But they said, you know, we are MAGA. We are not America first. Well, I mean, I appreciate you being honest. Okay. I accept your terms. All right. You're an enemy. Okay. You must be destroyed. And I just don't get it. Who does this appeal to? And like, it kind of gets on like the whole, insert any anime or any, halfway decently masculine movie ever. And it's like, what typically happens in the movies when like the guy who's been getting beat down and spit on and kicked, what does he eventually do? What does he eventually do to the people who are bullying him? Fights back. And so to think that Roseanne Barr and Barry Weiss and Ben Shapiro are going to continue to spit in our face and we're going to take it, it's like, bro, have you not watched any? I know life's not Hollywood, but like it's a very common stereotype for a reason. It's like, dude, people aren't going to sit here and take it. Just not. Are they both the Israelis? I thought they were. I couldn't remember if they was the same person or not. But thank you for that, Jency. America is in a war for its identity right now. A hardcore war for its identity. And if I have to see another Dear Groyper video, I'm going to pull my eyeballs out live on stream. Like, it's I can't do it. And that is going to be the gay of the day. We're gonna take a look at that, and also some more rage bait. I know I said I was going to go an hour, but here we go. Here we go. I have the gift of gab. It's hard for me to shut up apparently, but people like when I talk, so I guess I'll keep doing it. But anyways, without further ado, here's the gay of the day.
The gay of the day.
So the gay of the day is two parts. One, I'm going to force you guys to watch this Hello Groyper video, or Dear Groyper, whatever you want to call it. And it's also kind of annoying that he has an appeal to heaven in the background because I don't even really think he believes in it. And the second, it's going to be extreme rage bait, and I would like to go to my post as well. I thought I had I rolled a 20, as the kids say nowadays. And it's been all over X, and if you guys are on X, I know you know exactly what photo I'm talking about. We will definitely be visiting it. But first, we're going to put this up on screen here. This is another Hello Groypers from another Raging Twink. No idea who this guy is, and it's probably going to remain that way. 500,000 views. He got 300 likes. This brother needs to make an appeal to literally anything, because you get 500,000 views and you only get 300 likes. You didn't appeal to nothing. Those are all the bots that found it. Those are all the Leela OnlyFans. Hi, you have boyfriend? I'm in town. I so horny right now. You free tonight? I need a boyfriend. All right, let's take a listen. What's this young brother have to say? I'll always hear out a young white man.
I really do wonder. I really do wonder why exactly this movement, this anti-Israel movement, is so predominant in my generation. Again, I'm Gen Z, okay? So I'm seeing this from the inside. I saw the death of Charlie Kirk and I said, wait a minute. This is the last guy for my generation. This is the last guy from my generation to argue for a pro-Israel position, of whom is influential. There's maybe a couple other guys. Largely, they don't even really exist. No one really thinks about them. No one talks about them, so they just don't exist. There aren't Gen Z pro-Zionist Christians really in the political right from what I've seen. You got Brylan Hollyland or whatever. They exist on a lower level, but they don't exist really. They don't have the influence that their counterparts have. And I find that very, very concerning because we as an American nation have had a fantastic relationship with Israel since 60s, 70s, and
F for respects, man. This boy's retarded. R.I.P. It's worse than we thought. He's retarded. He's not just gay. He is also retarded. But you know what? I think I like him ignorant instead of malicious. I'd rather deal with an ignorant than one who's malicious.
For some reason, we want to throw that away. I want to throw it away. And the sacrifice for it is, oh, well, we're America first. So naturally, we have to become isolationist and lose our connection with these nations because we don't want them interfering with our nation. They're messing with our elections. Mossad is in our government. Good. I'm glad you guys are listening to the Russians really well. Good on y'all because you guys are really good listeners to propaganda. You're good at being deceived because I'm arguing that right now, you people claiming Mossad runs our government. The Zog thesis is authentic. I'm claiming those claims that you guys are making
dude, that's gold.
are unfounded conspiracies. And I say that because I was in your exact same worldview. I had that exact same position, and my goodness, it was so untrue. So untrue. Oh, the Rothschilds, they're the reason why the world is so messed up, you know. They're the people who is responsible for all the horrible things in our world.
So he's an apostate. He's an apostate. What? This brother knew about everything. All I can think of in my head is if you guys saw the woman propaganda thing with Josh Vandernord, and Josh is like he's being the good Jew, and he puts his hand over. Thank you for the super chat, brother. And I just can see this kid. He was like, I used to think like this, but then I went to Israel, and I was like, I was wrong. The Jews told me I was wrong. Super chat up here. Filthy angry Irish peasant says, it is a threat when you dig down how embedded our ally is in our tech sector, communications, and into our critical infrastructure. The depth is staggering, and it is. And it's staggering because it's been so long. And also staggering because it's not even just that it's been happening for so long. It's been that the Hasbara program and propaganda program to protect it has also been around for so long. We're dealing with an elite evolved predator of a propaganda system, right? It's like, it stands above the rest. It's like there's no propaganda like pro-Israel propaganda. You know, it's like we're dealing with an apex predator of propaganda. It's like it has lived for, 100 years and longer than that, actually, now at this point, 100 and some years. It's been around for forever. Like, I don't know, dude, nobody touches the pro-Israel propaganda, dude. He's the inmate you avoid. He's like, oh, dude, he'll fuck you up. Just stay away from him. But that is like kind of also one of these other elements here too. And it's extremely complex and it's deep too. Very deep. But thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that greatly. Appreciate that very much.
Because of the Rothschilds and the banking families, the 13 families. No, you guys just build a scapegoat as humanity has since the foundation of the world. And their scapegoat has been efficiently for them, the Jews. They're easy to organize. They're easy to identify. What do? You assimilate against, or at least because they don't assimilate, you are aggressive towards them. And so we got to kick them out. We got to initiate pogroms. We got to have their synagogues burned down. This is like humanity has had this problem consistently.
I get it. I get it. I get it. Now it makes sense. The only reason that people are anti-Israel and anti-Zionist is because Jews are scapegoats. Dude, why didn't I think of that? Dude, my whole worldview has just changed now. I can't stand this shit. I can't stand the whole, we're going to bring up the Ross trials. We're going to say these are all their claims. And the reason why they're not true is because they hate Jews. Come on, dude. It's like you are adding to the fire here. You are the ignoramus that we are ratioing on a daily basis. You put yourself in the line of fire for something you weren't prepared for. Man, I really just hope that kid got to $7,000 because it'll probably be the last money he makes on social media. Man, dude. Gay. And here's the rage bait. Here's one I wanted to go to as well too. That was super gay, and everyone just forget we even watched that. Didn't happen. Your Groper video, what are you talking about? We didn't watch that. This is, well, not the one from Middle Earth Mixer, but I grabbed his because he's a twink too. But here's this. Alex, what a name. Alex Cockman. Let's just do this. This is the video. This is the photo going viral. 7.5 million views. Does anyone see any problem with this video? This photo, he says, as of today, I'm officially the father of a teenager. All right. Somebody's got to say it, dude. Somebody's got to say it. That's the first black person I've seen wearing a quarter zip button up. I've never seen a black person in that before. Have you guys seen that before? No, okay, I'm just messing. This is a huge problem, and everyone knows it. It is a massive virtue signal. And so it's splitting down the sides. We're going back to this, very effeminate Christianity. Obviously, I feel like this was almost pushed to be rage bait. Early life check. I'd like to get that as well too. And I quoted this and said something very simple. I said, finally. I said something to the effect of, finally. It's always the black fathers adopting the white kids that I see. I'm glad we finally got the inverse. I did a bit of the Tim Pool there. I guess I could go to mine too. I might have to refresh the page, I guess. Let me find this. Is that what I said? Is that what I said verbatim? Yeah. Typically, it's always black fathers adopting white children. It's good to see the inverse for a change. Well, why did I say that? Well, because this is obviously sarcasm. Black fathers don't even take care of their own kids. And this is the reason why you see so many white fathers adopting the black kids. There's also the other element, which is this major issue in a lot of the evangelical circles with this missionary stuff, which is like, it's a big virtue signal. They're like, I'm adopting an Ethiopian kid. Okay? Like, you couldn't adopt anyone here from America? What? And so everyone's obviously hugely divided over this. This goes down the same lines of the race realism. This goes down the same lines of what, and has all the appearances of, this guy's cucked. This guy's cucked. Cucked. Now, it's not to say that taking care of a child who doesn't have a father is a bad thing. But the overpresence of it being white men adopting black kids as a virtue signal is a problem. And it's a problem because whites are in a battle for their own existence, for their survival as a peoples. And while you have Ben Shapiro and Joel Berry saying they don't give a damn about the browning of America, and not to mention half of the conservative circles will sit there and say that the Great Placement's not thing, or it's being blown up to be too much. And the left will say it's just outright not happening, or it's a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory, or whatever. It's a problem because it's not taking our own side. It's a problem because we know that there were also white kids that he could have adopted and he chose not to. And the reason is, why did he not? And also given the fact of this as well too, to deny that here's the thing as well too, what he also deprived this black kid of is growing up in a family that looks and is like him and shares his genetics. That's what he deprived this kid of. Now, at the same time, while I do understand that it's a very rare opportunity or rare thing to believe at all, that a black father is going to come out of his way to adopt black children, given the fact that we know that black fatherlessness is an epidemic, it's still to say we know what is natural and what is most right. The most righteous thing for that kid would be that he would be put with a family that closely resembles him for comfortability. And also on top of this too, I've seen many of these mixed kids who have come out, and less so mixed kids, but kids who've been adopted, who have come out and said like, dude, they hated their upbringing. They felt like they were never in place. They felt like everything was always kind of like they were the token or whatever. And so then the kid's going to grow up in this kind of split dynamic. And you know that this guy's going to go out of his way. He's like, hey, what if my son is black, right? And it's like, come on, dude. And it's like you're putting him in the crosshairs for no reason. You put yourself in the crosshairs for literally no reason, by the way. But it's got to stop. This racial cuckoldry has to stop. And again, it goes in the same vein of like, we have to take our own side. And the reality is just like, listen, we can't solve society by being at the bottom of the totem pole, getting shit upon every single day, willingly walking into the shackles that is cuckoldry on 1,000 different levels, and then expect that we're going to survive in 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. I mean, tolerating all the way until our final breath, until there's none of us left. And it's not to say I don't think it's a righteous thing to do, but I do think that ultimately, it's hard to believe anymore that these things are done for all the right reasons. And it's just sad, man. It's just sad that despite everything going on, it is like the last thing anybody wants to do is stand up for white men and people. It's like how far must we like actually be violated, deracinated, psyoped before even people who are on our team or should be on our team start to, have a little bit of empathy. And it's just sad because we are like the one racial group that has been indoctrinated to hold out of group preferences. The heat map. It's just disgusting. But with that though, that was basically all I was going to cover today. I got to get back, so I got to make sure I can get through. I want to be able to write notes down on Ryan Dawson's New Mech documentary. I also want to make sure that I can write some notes down on Pat Buchanan's book, Hitler, Churchill, and the Unnecessary War. And then I also want to make sure that I can read through tremendous amounts of Frank Lunt's 2009 Israel's Global Language Dictionary. And a few other things. And I did send the sources over to John? Somebody. Sent sources to somebody. I tagged a lot of people with them. It's an exhaustive list. It's huge. I want to make sure I do a good job with that as well. Tomorrow's up in the air. I'll try to put an announcement on Discord. I don't know if I will be. It's just up in the air because I depending on what I still need to do for the debate tomorrow, I may or may not still remain home, or there's a chance I go and see my grandfather who's in hospice. And so I'll just play it by ear. I post about it on X, or I'll post it in the Discord if you guys want to keep updated there. And obviously subscribe to all the partners for NAV. Subscribe to NAV if you haven't already. That's where the debate's going to be hosted. All that should be in the description. And if it's not, I'm just retarded. So when is the debate? The debate is on Friday on NAV, and it will be at 4 p.m. It'll be 4 to 6 p.m. Me versus Chuck Mason. Does Israel have commandeering influence over America? Yes. Yes, no, trust me. I definitely want to make sure I can go see my grandfather. Yes. Yes. And I do apologize because I don't know if I'll even be able to get a video out this week. I'll probably try to get some members only content out over the weekend when I can find a moment to breathe. But again, I appreciate all the support from all of you guys greatly. Thank you very much. Obviously, like, it wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable or fun or even worthwhile to do if you guys weren't a part of it and weren't here to support, and obviously getting the inside jokes, seeing a lot of the regular faces. So just know I do appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. And I do root for you guys actively. And I know I don't respond on a timely basis, but I do try to respond to everybody at some point. It's not that I think I'm better or anything. It's just because I'm just typically busy anymore. It's just hard to keep up with stuff. But with that, obviously, seek first the kingdom of God. Christ is king. I do hope your guys' journey following the path of Jesus Christ is going well. And again, I will always say too, I understand that going to church sometimes can be difficult. Sometimes you may not have a decent option. You may be surrounded by a bunch of effeminacy. And I still do think that it's worth your time to, even if it's on a regular basis, but to find days in which it would be a decent opportunities to go out and seek church. Even in the effeminate circles, I do still think it's worth your while there. And thank you, Titan. I appreciate that very much, brother. And I am rooting for you guys on that end too. And I know that's something that I struggle with as well. I'm trying to clean up how much I'm cussing all the time. Probably still drop the N-word here and there. No, I'm just kidding. But trying to make sure that I am on all elements trying to be the best person that I can be. But that starts with seeking God first. I mean, first and foremost, above all, nothing else matters. And then from there, things will begin to fall in place too. But to just say, if you need sources like that, I always recommend Stone Choir. I also recommend Joel Webben. I like Joel Webben a lot, and I know that they actually don't like each other, but I do think that they're both great sources. And then let me go to the super chat here from Titan. He says, haven't done one in a while. I appreciate that, man. I do appreciate you greatly. Yep. And Titan has been here a long time, man. Titan was one of the first people. I think Titan was here before I even had 500 subscribers, actually, believe it or not. It's been a long, long time. It's been a long ride. But thank you very much for that, man. And beyond that, obviously, Christ is king, deport Kash Patel, ban Pam Bondi from public life, and probably every other single woman and whale that has anything to say. But with that, I do appreciate you guys. I hope everybody has a good rest of your night, and I should see you at some point this week. If not tomorrow, I'll see you on Friday, and be ready for the debate. All right. Take care, everybody.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out. I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out.